Hello, my name is Mike Lozano, and welcome to the 2021 Cal Poly Landscape Architecture Senior Show. We as fifth years are excited to showcase our work to you tonight, and it is my honor to present to you my senior capstone project here at Cal Poly. Ever since I graduated from high school, I've had two passions in life, golf and creativity, and when I decided to come to Cal Poly, I wanted to combine the two and later seek a career in golf course architecture. As I entered college, I quickly began to learn that the golf course industry is actually a declining one. I had been told by many people, many peers, left and right, to choose different career paths because no one was playing golf anymore and the entire industry was on the decline. I almost gave up on that passion, but then instead of giving up, I decided to ask questions. Why are people playing less golf? Why is the industry on the decline? And why is golf also seen as very unsustainable at times, and how can we fix those issues? Tonight, it is my honor to present to you my project in which I address these questions, try to come up with solutions, and reimagine how we design golf courses. So without further ado, here's my senior capstone project, A Sustainable Swing.
The overall concept behind this design and research project is to enrich the lives of underrepresented and underprivileged groups through sustainable golf design by promoting healthy lifestyles and advocating for the end of systemic social issues within golf. In order to achieve such a concept, 3 theories were studied to later influence the design process. The first theory, how golf improves life, describes the sport's benefits to a player's everyday lifestyle. It challenges you physically and mentally and offers opportunities for exercise, growth, learning, and mental health improvement. The next theory is the 3 legs of sustainability. With golf course designs now moving in a positive direction in environmental sustainability, we can continue to improve this while shifting equal focus to the other 2 aspects, economic sustainability and social equity in golf. The last theory touched upon in this project is environmental justice. Data shows that lower-income, minority-populated areas are often more vulnerable to the negative impacts of climate change. When designed as sustainable green space, golf courses could have the potential to mediate these effects by cleaning water, removing carbon and pollutants from the air, restore wildlife habitats, and more. With these 3 theories for design in mind, we can now address the dilemmas in golf that have led to a decline in the industry and lack of player participation. There are 3 main reasons why golf is seeing a decline in the rate of new players. The first is that playing golf is now too expensive, with pricey green fees and equipment needed to play. The second is that golf takes too much time, with most everyday working people and students not having the time to dedicate hours of their day to a recreational activity. The amount of time it takes to play on the course can also discourage interested individuals from taking up the sport. Lastly, and most importantly, golf is too difficult. Trends show that the designs of golf courses over recent decades have gotten longer and more difficult, with the more experienced and expensive equipment owning players in mind, rather than the common amateur. To combat these issues while embracing our study design theories, 6 goals have been created to set such forth a path for this project. With these goals, we can now begin to study our chosen project site. The project is a redesign of the existing Chester, Washington golf course in Los Angeles, California. The course has a great history in its efforts to help make golf more racially inclusive back in the 1900s, and the purpose of this design is not to remove the meaning of that history, but to re-spark those ideas of making golf more inclusive and accessible to a more diverse population through the course's design. Adjacent to the site, we'll see a fair amount of residential homes, as well as a school bordering the site with only a roadway to separate them. More influenced by the demographics, this site was chosen intentionally with opportunities to expose more diverse crowds to golf, as well as to overcome challenges in regards to this, as this project was meant to be a template for forward thinking to tackling these issues that needs to go into a design. When talking about demographics in golf, there is a great lack of diversity. The sport is commonly known as the rich, older white man's game, and the data shows this trend. 70 to 80% of golfers are white. The median income for these golfers is about $100,000. 91% of players are over the age of 18, and 3/4 of all players are men. With the goal of advocating for a more inclusive game of golf, it is important we design and redesign courses in a highly diverse areas and adapt to how we fit these designs into those areas properly. This is why Chester, Washington Golf Course was chosen in Los Angeles, as the city has high amounts of diversity, and the population immediately surrounding the site is of a more diverse origin when compared to the golfing population. This is a low to middle income minority populated area. These next diagrams relate back to the theory of environmental justice, or rather the existence of environmental injustice. Lower income minority areas, like the ones surrounding our site, disproportionately suffer more from the impacts of climate change. This is because there are typically more unsustainable practices that surround these areas, like industrial factories and a lack of clean water, due to the fact that these areas are poor, which also tend to be where the homes of many minorities are. In the map on the left, the site and the surrounding context are shaded based on vulnerability to the effects of climate change, with the higher the score, the more vulnerable the area. All the areas here prove to be fairly or extremely vulnerable, with scores of either 12, 14, or 18 out of a total of 20. The map on the right shows another environmental injustice, showing that up to 35 people in this area feel that there is a lack of green open space for them to enjoy. It is also common for these types of areas to be overly urbanized or industrialized, leaving little space for naturalistic areas. With our theories, dilemmas, and site context all together, we can begin to use what opportunities there are for us as designers to create an appropriate and sustainable golfing facility for this community. And for this community, that design is the new Chester Washington Golf Park. Chester Washington Golf Course becomes Chester Washington Golf Park as its dedication for the historical figure will remain in name and spirit, but this design is more than a course. It is for more than just golfers, it is for a community. This design embodies a golf course, open space, and native naturalistic elements all in one. The design reduces the original 18-hole course to a 9-hole course, allowing for equal focus of all design elements to make this an effective template of this framework of design. Let's break down this design in the 4 main design elements that make it up. There is a 3-hole loop concept, hole layouts, public open space, which includes naturalistic space as well, and finally, accessibility and slope. Each of these elements is purposely tied to embrace the design theory studied in order to effectively accomplish the design goals set. Like how hole layouts can relate to economic and social equity by designing each hole to have less maintenance costs, making the sport cheaper and more affordable to this lower income community, or how public open space relates to environmental justice by providing open naturalistic areas for this community that lacks access to such places. Let's dive more specifically into each one, starting with the 3-hole concept. Unlike traditional 9 or 18-hole loops on a typical golf course, this golf park was designed to have 3-hole loops. This helps to directly address and provide potential solutions to each of the 3 dilemmas. With time, players would no longer be constricted to the choice of feeling they have to dedicate 2.5 hours of their game to golf, that being how long it takes on average to play 9 holes. Rather, they can choose to leave their round easily after 3, 6, 9, or even 18 holes if they choose to play twice, with each loop taking 45 minutes. A big reduction in time commitment needed. For the difficulty issues, beginning golfers can relax knowing they don't have to dedicate a significant amount of time to a sport they're just beginning to learn. Instead, they can choose how long to play based on their own comfortability levels. In terms of cost, players now have more affordable options as well, now being able to pay for 3 or 6 holes in addition to the typical 9 or 18. Playing fewer holes can mean cheaper costs for those looking to make their buck worthwhile. Next, let's look at accessibility and slope, both tied together and in separate forms. Accessibility is needed in many areas, both in physicality, economics, time, and most importantly, equity. Both the physical design of the golf park and the policies it practices help to make the game more equally accessible. A few of the policies that address these 3 issues and also make the game more accessible include free golf club rentals, free electric carts with proof of medical disability, driving range and practice facilities open 24/7, golf lessons with options for who you train with and are more comfortable with, and youth programs where after 6 weeks of participating, kids can then play for only $1 a day. The grading plan on the right shows also how this golf course is physically accessible. There are no more than a 4% max slope for most play areas and pathways, with most being around 2%. This helps to allow people of all physical abilities to be able to wander this golf course whether playing or walking through publicly. Yet this design does not take away from things such as water drainage, retention, and the ability to challenge a golfer's skill set to help them improve their own game. The second biggest aspect behind this design, just behind the golfing portion, is the public open space element. A major argument commonly seen against golf course development is that they are large areas of open space that require great amounts of resources and investments from the community, yet they are reserved for a specific population within that community. Let's look at the Los Angeles golfing population. There are 760,000 golfers in the LA area, which is great for the golf community. But looking at that number proportionally, that is only 6.1% of the entire population in the LA area. and there are only an additional 13.4% of people that are interested in trying golf. While there are a lot of golfers residing in Los Angeles, given how big the area is, that number is spreading thin. Most people here, or anywhere for that matter, are not golfers, and it's safe to assume that about the site surrounding local population. People are right in their arguments that golf courses take from the many but provide for the few. Rather than only provide for golfers or get rid of golf courses altogether, it is necessary to compromise and meet in the middle, to create a golfing experience that also has opportunities for the general public to participate in. A common example you might see are public restaurants at golf courses. This is consistently a great idea to have, especially for this area. It is close to homes and closely connected to the school, so families and students can come grab a bite to eat. They are also able to see people play golf, possibly sparking an interest of their own to play. This is where we compromise with this design. Create spaces for non-golfers to use that are integrated within the confines of the course, and at the same time, it will expose more people to the game of golf, leading to more people taking an interest and eventually utilizing the space for golf as well. While it is important to try to buffer public space and golf space for the safety of the people, the play areas for golf can act as both golfing spaces and public spaces. Taking a chip from the first ever golf course, St. Andrews in Scotland, during certain days of the week the course will be closed for golfing and it will be fully accessible to the public as a golf space. Some holes can even be converted for secondary uses, such as Hole 5 here, which now has football field lines painted on it, allowing people to play football during park hours. Golfers can also utilize this as both sports rely on yardage for measurements. Lastly, there is the public walking and biking paths that interweave into this site. This allows for people to safely walk throughout the course and exposes them even more to the sport up close. It also acts as a nature walk for this urbanized area with more naturalistic plantings integrated into this course over turf. On most golf courses, much of the land is covered with turf, much of it likely unnecessary. These waves of green may appeal to the American ideals and visions for what we consider as aesthetic golf courses, but they require large amounts of water, fertilizers, and pesticides. By removing turf where it is not needed and replacing it with beneficial native landscapes, the design of the course can more positively contribute to the overall health of this already vulnerable area. This section shows how using native vegetation can create habitat for species that are native to the area and are commonly seen passing through. This pollinator garden acts as a habitat for bees, butterflies, larvae, birds, and more. All the plants chosen are native to the area and all require very little water and maintenance. By reducing maintenance and its costs, you create a more sustainable environment that golfers can play at for a cheaper price. Urban mammal habitats can also be used on the outer skirts of the golf park as they are more directly linked to the rest of the urban area. What is more important to note here is the water retention basin. There are many of these all over the course full of low maintenance vegetation meant to collect and clean water before letting it percolate back into the ground or being used for recycled water. Areas like this integrated throughout the golf park allow for users, golfing and non-golfing, to experience a more naturalistic setting in a heavily urbanized area while also showing them the beautiful native vegetation that is part of the Los Angeles character and culture. Last and most importantly, we have hole layout. This obviously is the heart of any golf course design as it influences how golfers strategize their game. In golf, it is never player versus player, it's always player versus course. For this particular design, the holes are laid out to be more playable by a wide range of differently skilled players to challenge their skills against the course. The layout and design of each hole is what will more directly address the three dilemmas of golf. Once again, players have the ability to dedicate less time to the rounds because the holes are designed to be shorter than modern day averages. Shorter hole lengths also make the game easier and more enjoyable to beginners, amateurs, and juniors. But it won't be too easy, as doglegs, trees, and other hazards will encourage skill development and promote creative thinking and decision making. The shorter holes are a big part of this new design. They make for a fairer game for naturally shorter hitters, which includes some, but not all of, newcomers, juniors, and women golfers. Putting less attention on distance and more on accuracy and strategy encourages skill development and creative thinking. This is also tied to equipment within golf. Advancements in golf technology have led to longer, more difficult courses. However, many amateur players can't afford these advanced equipment pieces and likely don't have the proper skill set to even use them. By creating shorter courses, you take away the need for expensive tools and create an overall more affordable game that everyone can enjoy. Looking at the tree and hazard placements, Aside from their environmental benefit, natural elements can act as challengers for a golfer's skill set and strategy development. Turns, trees, and basins are placed with the idea of risk versus reward throughout the entire course. Long yet less accurate hitters will be humbled, while more strategic and skilled players will be rewarded. The physical design of the course can even lead to more equity within the golfing population. Women participation is drastically low in golf. This is mainly due to the theory that women often feel unwelcome on the course in the long term. This is tied to disadvantages they face in the design of many courses and the superior mindset that this gives male players. Golf courses have gotten longer in recent decades, and while this is likely due to advancements in golf equipment, the design choice favors male players who naturally hit longer. Women tend to be more accurate, but they hit shorter, causing them to use more strokes to reach the putting green than it would for most males. Taking a look at the chart here, the average distance for a woman is 170 yards off the tee, with an average greens and regulations of 50%, but they are 70% accurate. For men, they average a drive distance of 225 yards, with average greens and regulations being 60%. They are less accurate, being at 64%. Chester Washington Golf Park was designed to have shorter holes that are more attainable to women golfers as well as amateurs and juniors. It also challenges longer hitters, making them consider their accuracy and skill sets more than their shot distance. Let's look at a blow-up plan of hole number 7 here on the golf course. You can see it was designed intentionally to make longer hitters strategize their game more, while also allowing fairway opportunities and more reachable greens for these new golfers, juniors, and women alike. Golf is not something we should simply give up on. Again, it is more than just a sport. It is a lifestyle, it is a community, and it is a passion for many. In the future, if we follow these trends with this design type, we can and should create more beautiful, accessible, sustainable, and resilient golf courses for a progressive future. Thank you.